This is Top Accurate Global News Update. I am Abiodun Mohammed. Rescuers raced against time on Monday to find survivors in the rubble more than 48 hours after Morocco's deadliest earthquake in more than 6 decades, with more than 2,100 killed in a disaster that devastated villages in the High Atlas Mountains. Search teams from Spain and Britain are joining efforts to find survivors of the 6.8 magnitude quake that struck late on Friday night, 72 kilometers southwest of Marrakech. Many survivors spent a third night outside, their homes destroyed or rendered unsafe by Morocco's most powerful earthquake since at least 1900. The death toll climbed to 2,122, with 2,421 people injured, State TV reported late on Sunday. In the village of Tafek Gagakte, Ahmed Ben Anna described how his 8-year-old son died under the rubble after he had gone to fetch a knife from the kitchen as the family were having their evening meal. The rest of the family survived. People have been salvaging possessions from the ruins of their homes and describing desperate scenes as they dug with their bare hands to find relatives. The damage done to Morocco's cultural heritage has been emerging gradually. Buildings in Marrakech Old City, a World Heritage Site, were damaged. The quake also reportedly did major damage to the historically significant 12th century Timmel Mosque in a remote mountain area closer to the epicenter. US President Joe Biden said on Sunday he held his highest level talks with Chinese leadership in months, adding that Beijing's economic wobbles would not lead it to invade Taiwan. Biden said he met with Chinese President Xi Jinping's number 2, Chinese Premier Li Qiang, at the annual G20 summit in New Delhi. The talks were the highest level meeting between the two powers in nearly 10 months since Biden and Xi spoke at last year's G20 in Indonesia. Li, who became premier in March, attended the gathering of world leaders in place of Xi. The two leaders were not expected to hold talks at the G20, but unscripted encounters at summit are common. In quote, "My team, my staff still meet with President Xi's people and his cabinet," Biden told reporters. "I met with his number 2 person in India today," the White House on Sunday said. Biden had met with the Chinese leader at the summit. The two superpowers have been trying to thaw frosty relations this year over a suspected Chinese spy balloon that flew over US territory, while fears of an economic slowdown have gripped Beijing. Brazil's leader has withdrawn his personal assurance that Russian President Vladimir Putin would not be arrested if he attends next year's Group of 20 summit in Rio de Janeiro, saying it would be up to the judiciary to decide. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva also questioned Brazil's membership in the United Nations War Crimes Court, saying on Monday, in quote, "Emerging countries often sign things that are detrimental to them." In quote, "I want to know why we are members, but not the United States, not Russia, not India, not China," Lula said. "I am not saying I'm going to leave the court, I just want to know why Brazil is a signatory." Putin missed this year's G20 gathering in the Indian capital, New Delhi, avoiding possible political opprobrium and any risk of criminal detention under an International Criminal Court (ICC) warrant. In March, the ICC announced an arrest warrant for Putin over the war crime accusation of unlawfully deporting Ukrainian children. The Kremlin denies the accusations, insisting the warrant against Putin is void. Russia issued an arrest warrant for Karim Khan, the prosecutor at the Hague-based War Crimes Court, in May, and it was added to the wanted list of its Ministry of Internal Affairs. India's main opposition leader has said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's plan to change the country's name from India to Bharat is absurd. In quote, "He wants to change the name of the country, which is absurd," Gandhi, who is on a 5-day trip to Europe, told pressmen in Brussels after being asked about India being changed to Bharat on G20 invitations. The Modi government's decision to replace the name with a Sanskrit word in dinner invitations for attendees of the 2-day G20 summit in New Delhi led to a major uproar. Modi used Bharat in the G20 nameplate when the summit kicked off on Saturday. Gandhi, the leader of the opposition Congress party, said the government's plan to change the name is a diversionary tactic. The Congress party leader has accused Modi of favoring big industrialists and sought an investigation against the billionaire Adani, who controls the Adani Group, for alleged financial violations. The Adani Group, which runs seaports and airports across India, has recently been in the limelight after an investigation revealed it used offshore tax havens to drive up its share price. Support for the inclusion of an indigenous advisory panel in Australia's constitution has dipped further A poll showed on Monday, putting the landmark proposal on track for defeat ahead of a national vote next month. Voters have swung against a, in quote, voice to parliament for the 5th month in a row. A survey conducted for the Sydney Morning Herald newspaper showed as the government struggles to convince skeptical and undecided voters to vote for the proposal. Australians will vote in the referendum on October 14th, when they will be asked whether they support altering the constitution to set up an indigenous committee to advise the federal parliament. The referendum requires a national majority of votes as well as a majority of votes in at least 4 of the 6 states in order to change the constitution. The survey, however, showed only the island state of Tasmania supported the voice. Since Australian independence in 1901, only 8 of the 44 proposals for constitutional change have been approved. Support has slid to 43% in the latest survey, down from 46% in August, with voters in New South Wales and Victoria, Australia's most populous state, shifting against the proposal. That is the size of top accolade global news update. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy New Week!